Hello, it's Lee. Well, here I am in one of my favorite spots. This is a forested area around Lac Beauchamp in Gatineau. It's pretty big enough, considering how close it is to the city, or outskirts of the city where I live. But anyways, a great escape, or a return rather, to simpler things that are also more profound. First of all, I will apologize if there's any muffling sound from the wind. It is a bit of a windy day, but I find the wind cleansing to the spirit, as with the scenery and everything else involved here in nature. So, without further ado, wanted to talk on the wisdom of the Druids and the further understanding of how this earth school teaches us about finite and infinite, eternal and temporal things. I guess one might say that for whatever understanding they may possess, we who are on the planet, however many, well, almost 7 billion people, we're here together, and we may understand things to varying degrees, of course, but we are sharing common things. We agree that sky is blue, for example, and the sun can be warm, lights things up. Well, I always find that it's important, and people should, well, if they feel inclined, as often as they like, get away from the hubbub of the city, or the humanly altered system or society, and return to simpler, maybe less cluttered surroundings to do a reflection on the soul, on yourself. I guess we could also argue that nature is not necessarily simple. It can be quite complex. Here I am walking on, trying to stay mostly on the stone rock bed or whatever what have you, as much as I can. But sometimes I have to go on mud or grass. How much do I appreciate this grass or these stones, or even that murky still water over there with moss and everything. Looking at it from a druidic perspective, to use that name, it's about trying to learn things from, or a discovery and uncovering, maybe even a recovery of ancient knowledge that was been passed down to us. There is way too much intelligent design behind everything in nature to think that it's a mere flukes, an accident, and yada yada. It's certainly not. Whatever god or gods, plural, really did make this place, designed it, implemented it, manifested it for us, they were certainly very intelligent, had a good intent. I believe it was Albert Einstein that is famous for many things, but he was known for quoting a lovely saying that I like, that if we would learn just what 10% of what nature is trying to tell us, we would unlock so many mysteries. We would end up finding out so much about self and God. I suppose you might say two kinds of people on the planet, if it's broken down to the relationship we have with nature. Those who would seek harmony with it, and those who would try to manipulate for some sort of gain. Now, I'm going to say that not all of the things that human beings have done to alter or mix and match things of nature to make other things are bad. I mean, I like the fact that, well, maybe I have an air conditioner or a fan in summertime when it's too hot, or a furnace to keep things warm in the winter. But the question is, could I do without it? Could I technically live without that? Well, obviously. People have been doing that for thousands of years, got along fine. Now, that's not necessarily going to be my argument, but I'm talking about cooperation with nature and seeing nature as a teacher. This is the fundamental Druid way. I have another video on Druidry. I'd like to repeat here that if you are interested in becoming a mystic of that sort, and they are very much mystical, intertwined with nature? Well, let me tell you something. You don't need anyone's permission. Anytime anyone wants to cooperate with their own self and discover things and learn, that's your own choice for yourself. You'll hear a lot of, I don't know, groups and societies of people banding together. You may do so as you like, of course, that's your own choice, but nobody has a final authority on anything. It's up to you, between you and God, basically. I'm about to bump into some people. I'll have to politely lower my camera, perhaps. Anywho, it's not everybody that enjoys these kind of places, because when we have lived, and if you'll believe me for a minute, when we have lived in the animal kingdoms, we tend to want a cessation or a break from certain sorts of things. Bonjour, monsieur, madame. You're going to be celebrities now. YouTube. Bonne journée. Sweet people. Like I was saying, the fact that we've lived in our past lives, and even if you don't believe in it, well, too bad, because it's true. You are not your body. You are not even your mind. You are your eternal self. And we have gone through many, 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 many lifetimes as a growth process. You know, the evolution theory is actually true, but not in the way that people think. Rather, in the way that Gandhi and many, many others understood it, there is a soul process, a soul evolution. We are actually children of this nature, and in modern times, we live in societies that are a bit different. Things have been altered, obviously, as you well know. Day-to-day activity in life. Well, I think we've been taught, and society has sort of pulled us along, to think that we can take things for granted. Kids of today especially, growing up with the internet when they're babies and this and that and the other, you know, do their parents talk to them about nature and how hard life was? I mean, maybe in their own souls they can have that memory hiding or not, but we can see that we don't cooperate with nature as much as we could. And this gets us to not look at ourselves in certain aspects as best as we might. Well, in whether you want to use the name Druid or whatnot, but we have been learning from this planet for a very long time. There is the seen and there is the unseen. There is the known and there is the unknown. And it takes an intent to want to unravel mysteries. Anyone that wants to uncover, discover, recover knowledge, memory, teachings and all that, well, they will do it. Open-minded and not be attached to an opinion when it comes to be proven as wrong is a great understanding to realize. Now in the old Druidic teachings they said this: before someone can be good at theology, you know, the teachings and the study on God, they should be good at philosophy. And that makes sense to me. And yet before someone should be good at philosophy, they should understand riddles and speech. The Druids of old will tell you that words are spells, words are magic. I had that explained in another video quickly on, and if you look at it and if you think about it, you can discover that for yourself if you don't already know. That there's either positivity being spoken, negativity, or something neutral. Which could be a plain fact that doesn't affect you positively or negatively. Now, in our approach to wanting to understand things, we got to look always at what's behind and look at the sacred value of something. The Druids always thought about something as sacred. When you look at modern science, they often look to devalue something, break something down to a composite nature and say, oh well, it's just that. Well, I can say nothing is just that. What is that? Without purpose, if you look at something only as a thing or an object, without seeing a purpose or the notion, it's foolhardy. And what's interesting is, in our past, every single culture, even if you don't believe in reincarnation, that's fine. Let's just use this example though. In the past of every culture and people lived in tribal type settings and whatnot, and there were always those who were trying to discover nature, whether they wanted to use a tree to make houses, weapons, boats, or whatever it was. People use nature to learn. You could say survival, but you can also say learning processes. And everything that has been leading up to now was the efforts of someone, you and I even, to get to where we are now. A lot of people are starting to realize that things go in a full circle. Many people that, I don't know, perhaps maybe you're like me in the sense that, and I think every druid or mystic or shaman, whatever your word, at heart, is sort of bored of technology. Maybe we sort of feel post-technologists by this point. I know I certainly do, in the sense that, well, that's all nice, but all of those little things we're using, such as cell phones and this and that, they're all there to, yes, be used for, you know, convenience, but they're all there to remind us of what is innately available inside of us. A cell phone, for example, to talk to someone over a distance in space, even in a different time zone. Well, this is just like training for telepathy and different things that we already have. Sounds foolish maybe, but it's the truth. Now, what I find unfortunate is this. By ignoring nature to relative degrees, I mean, we live in it. Oxygen, water, food, death, everything. We live in it like it or not. And in a modern society, we've been taught to disregard many things. And I guess we've taken for granted so many things. It's like we've been taught in sort of like a mind control type of way, in many areas at least, to say, oh, well, I don't need that because I have that doing it for me. Or I don't need to look inside to see whether or not I have the access of telepathy or anything like that, because I have this to do it for me. Giving up your power to an object when maybe you can do something yourself, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. We'll see in time. Now you have to let me apologize for my roundabout speech. I'm trying to say many things, and the videos can never be too long because it can get boring having the same person talk for too long, or the same face, whatever. I understand that. But for some people, if they want to follow a little perspective of someone else, well, I'm just trying to share a few things, and I think a lot of people agree with me, and those are the ones that I do it for. People that agree with me on many things, because we have the same sort of wavelength, if you will. Now let's look at Druidic teachings. You see that tree? This is one of the bigger trees that stands out on the path in this area. Well, this tree is a great teacher. This tree is a very good handful of years old and is quite healthy. Many faceted, many branched. A person is like a tree. The cosmos is like a tree. Roots to something, stretching out afar, and could have many purposes. I like to see the universe as a giant tree, if you will, and the world tree, if you will, in the sense that there is a source we came from and we are branched off from it. And that's very lovely to realize that. We are part of something, we have an origin of something. You might say seeds and acorns, whatever you have, you've fallen from the source to be our own tree. That's a good way to put it, maybe. Now let's look at the earth. Earth for the body and for the soul. Earth for the body is a field. We stand on solid ground, so we can walk and these bodies can operate. We need gravity in these things. These bodies are bound to it by necessity. For the soul, training ground. There's purpose behind it, not just something that is that, but that which has a purpose. So earth, solid manifestation for solid body. to have us have a field to learn, like a school, a structure, so we can learn things. We could think of the wind. Without the wind, there couldn't be pollination. There couldn't be the spreading of things. For example, there couldn't be cooling down someone's body in the heat. Germination, many things. Without water, the body doesn't survive. The earth would become dry. Without fire, in whatever form it comes in, no heat to give life. We live in a multidimensional and elemental structure school that gives us the ability to learn. Many people came to realize that, the Druids no less, that the human body is a very, very good tool to raise consciousness and teach the soul. This planet, for all its pros and cons, is the perfect place we need to be. If we're here, it was decided so. It was even agreed upon. And so as it is, we are here, learning. Now, to cooperate with nature and understand her as a great teacher is a wise thing to do. There's nothing manifested that's physical that doesn't come from nature originally, of course. So, even the microwave that you use, or the television, the computer, there's physical and non-physical. But without using the earth, it couldn't have been manifested. So this is a cooperation. There's going to be, in Druid teachings, a cooperation, meaning on the side of harmony for a greater good, or disrespect. You can see the effects of pollution and many things that damage the earth. And by damaging the earth, it damages us. It's not good or wise to say, and the Druids would tell you, that human beings are more important than the planet, nor is the planet more important than human beings. There's equal. Without this school, the human being doesn't exist, doesn't have a field of play to learn. So, when in harmony, there's a benefit for both and all. You may say animals, birds, different things, not just to provide sustenance, but they are on their own learning path. In the teachings of ancient cultures, and as it should be still now, animals are very important as teachers, simple and profound nature, archetypes of things and subcategories. Now, in the modern world, you think of the difference. Oh, I see a deer track going the other way. Well, we like to think of ourselves as aloof and superior, but we're taking for granted the securities of things and the violence of things. And we think that being brutish makes us superior. Well, think about it. If you or I were all alone and unarmed and face to face with a grizzly bear or a wolf pack or whatever you want, well, wouldn't be too brave then necessarily, right? It is what we have done with things, our thinking abilities, our ambitions, the cooperation with nature for good or for bad, that has given us the right to engage the human condition. But, and I'll turn around in full circle again, what is necessary and unnecessary? Because all in all, I really do think that everything comes back to, and the purpose of our being here and our growth was to see that many desires were totally rubbish and not necessary at all. And the path of the druid, of the mystic, of the soul in general, there's no name, is to come and see harmony with the universe is the only way to go. Because otherwise it's destruction, self-destruction. Dog print. Now, I'm going to pose a question for people to try, if you've kept up with my video so far, is this. For one meditation, try it out and see if it works. Picture yourself as something. Picture yourself as a tree. Picture yourself as the sun. Picture yourself as a rock. Why do I say that? Why do I recommend it? Well, in order to understand something, we should try to see what it would be like to be something. That's a great mystery indeed. For example, if you meditated on being a tree, what would you say? What would you learn? Stillness? Provision, maybe? Patience? Beauty, grace? Soft with a tough exterior? Changing in the seasons? Needing water, not needing too much water? Sacrificing so that others may live? What would a tree teach you? If you were a tree, how would you think? How would you be? How would you like to be treated? This is going to sound like a strange riddle, but this is a great mystery to try and figure out. There was once a wise druid who said, "When I sit on the stone, am I sitting on the stone or is the stone sitting on me?" Maybe the wise can turn that one in their heads and see what he was trying to say. Nature teaches us, the Druids, in a relationship with nature, it teaches us that harmony creates excellence, creates a means in which we may learn. A cooperation and a willingness to allow us to continue onwards. Open mind and open heart. It's the way to go about it. Well, I guess that'll conclude this video for now. I could talk for maybe an hour more, but it'd probably get boring. Only so much you can do watching one video. But anyways, I always recommend, if people want to get in touch with a less cluttered version of themselves, or shake off some rubbish once in a while, go to nature. It doesn't even have to be a deep forest or anything like that. This forest I'm in right now is not huge. Here's some houses on the outskirts, but it's big enough. And I have gotten lost in it before. Found myself out of course and got out of it. But it says something, it teaches something. Even just a tree in front of your house or in the park, leaning up against it and thinking about it, can teach a lot of harmony. I'm not going to bash any particular philosophy or theology or school of thought, mysticism, whatever, but you can try and find yourself by looking for nothing, or you can try and look at things, something, to be a teacher. In the mystical druid way, it's not about ignoring things, but embracing them, learning from them by cooperation. Nature teaches us a lot, a lot. If we could go back to the roots of things in their natural state, as the gods of the God created. One day we'll be the creators, when we become holy and humble, and sitting accurately in our power, we'll be the ones making things from scratch, manifesting. That's going to be interesting. Yeah.